nice taste of the summer to come, right around the corner, despite all the snow on the ground right now. And about half the Canadian beer drinking market is aware of the Bud Light Lime Mojito drink, and they're starting to think about that again. And what we want to do is present a solution today of how to market that for your second introductory year in a row, of how to bring 50% of that market at first taste and get them to keep coming back year to year and make them dedicated Bud Light consumers. Good afternoon, my name is Simon. This is Fred and Joel, Board of Directors. We're here today to present this solution. Just to quickly go over the agenda, I myself will be going over the current situation and the opportunity ahead that we see. Joel and Fred will be going over the recommendation. Joel will be taking you through the financial implications. Fred will be taking you through the implementation. I'll come back in for wrap up and the future consideration. So back to current success. Bud Light Lime's popularity is huge, and we see this as a huge internal strength. And you have access to high capital, you have strong market power, especially within off-site stores like the vendors and grocery stores. And you had this really successful launch last summer that we're looking to build on for the next year. Externally, we actually see somewhat of an untapped market. You have a very focused market looking at a young high school graduate who's working. But there's really high awareness. Over 50% of the market understands and knows the brand Bud Light Lime Mojito. And Quebec's festive and open-minded culture we see as another opportunity to go for coming ahead. And that's current challenges. With such a broad portfolio, the real question is, how do you grow without cannibalizing your portfolio, especially when you already have Bud Light Lime and then the rest of the Bud Light portfolio, not to mention all of AB InBev's portfolio sold in grocery stores and bars. So we really want to address that concern. Also the threats of stiff competition and a saturated market, very low growth in the last few years. So the question is, how do we grow in this market, the beer market, also penetrating other markets like alcohol, hard alcohol, and wine, again, without cannibalizing our own current portfolio. So with the competitive analysis, we want to look at the wine market. It's government regulated, really dominates in the SAQ stores. It's not necessarily a big summer drink, but it's a big part of the dining experience, which gives it resilience to seasonal fluctuations. So while people may not be drinking this out on the terrace, they'll be drinking it at dinners in the evening. There is a main concern though with sangria, a drink we do see people drinking more and more. And we see this as a competitive threat, but also an opportunity because it shows that a wine drinking market is willing to go for lower alcohol but more flavored, more festive type of drink. In hard alcohol, the drink of choice for nights out, especially in clubs, and it's more expensive. Again, mostly sold in SAQs. But we see another main concern with flavored beverages that you'll find in grocery stores. Again, a threat, but also an opportunity where we see the hard alcohol drinking market willing to go for these more flavored beverages like what you have Bud Light Lime and Bud Light Lime Mojito. In beer, there's other big brands like Molson and Sleeman, big portfolios that you're competing against. How do you compete against them again without cannibalizing your own portfolio? And then microbrews, there's a big urban influence. They're very popular in urban areas, and these are big markets in Quebec. So the main concern with these are flavored beers. So the microbrews are a competitor we can go after without cannibalizing our own portfolio. And there's a lot of willingness with microbrew drinkers to drink a type of beverage like Bud Light Lime Mojito. So the opportunity we see ahead is that by implementing a resonating stunt campaign that reaches a broadened target market in tandem with the on-the-ground sampling effort, we will capture market share with an energized consumer, a young consumer, as you pointed out in your case, who will turn into a brand loyalist in the coming years and result in sales of at least $4.5 million. So the consumer profile you laid out was a male, young, graduated from high school. And what we want to look at is what is Mark doing in the summertime? Likely he's in summer vacation or holding summer job. He has more leisure time. He's attending festive places, casual terrace drinking, going to festivals, enjoying outdoor activities. His behavior is thrill-seeking, and he has maybe a summer flirt. Emily, though, most of you focused on a male target, and we want to open up to his female counterpart, Emily, Mark's flirt, perhaps. Likely also on summer vacation, holding a summer time many of the same behavioral aspects as Mark, but she's perhaps looking for a more relaxed, stress-free. And we see this as a real big potential target who's going to also be interested in a flavored beer beverage. And she enjoys the summery drink, so she's going to be very interested in this offer.
So the success of Bud Light Beer Mojito has been established. It has exceeded the sales, the forecasted sales of 35%. So definitely this is a product that the consumer wants. But it is very important that it is promoted in a very efficient way for the summer, especially if we are looking for converting new customers. The target age would be about 18 to 19, people who start to drink, and you want them to get interested in these kinds of drinks. Having a different flavor, something that is a bit more mild to the taste and less alcohol content, allows the newly drinking consumers to be more interested in the product because it's more easily drinkable and it's just smooth and it has a better taste. So we do think that what we need is to identify what the consumers are looking for, what type of characteristics do they have, and two main stood out a lot. They're adventurous and they're trendy. Whatever, like Harlem Shakes, whatever is trendy, whatever is something that's big on the internet and that people talk about, that's something that you want to get into. And very early on, we decided that parcours was something that most companies do not tap into. So just a little overview of what parcours is. It's urban athletics, we could call it, or something like that. It's basically athletes who jump buildings and who do kind of an urban parcours of steps and obstacles. And it's something that reflects physical fitness, and it's really impressive for most 18 to 19-year-olds. So these characteristics combined with a parcours promotional campaign would make a good idea for starters. So the way this campaign would work is we would label it "Transport Yourself," because it is a summer drink. So you want the consumer to be transported whenever he or she drinks the beer. So the way it works is you would have a typical consumer, just normal guy, everyday normal guy, opening the can, and as soon as he opens it, then you go in this vision of him and his friend, guys and girls, going around the city and doing this parcours, this parcours stunt, and then coming on top of a very nice building in a hot, very cool summer city, and then it goes back to the person who's drinking. It just creates a strong emotional attachment. It's something that the consumer can look into, and that when he or she buys the product, he actually relates back to the ad and then actually feels this emotional connection. It is something that is very important for the company. Most of the brands are tied into this emotional attachment, so it's definitely something that we see as completely in line with the type of consumers and also what the company wants. It's kind of a guerrilla stunt campaign also, because the next point is we want to do more than this, more than just simply showing it on TV and on YouTube. We're going to actually use a few of these parcours athletes to create some promotional hype within Montreal. So we'd have a filming team who would film a few stunts and he would climb a few buildings in Quebec, and also and they would say on Twitter, where they're going to be in the next day or two. So people would actually come and watch. It'd be quite a show, and then you can distribute promotional items such as gear plus, of course, the beers en tant que tel. So that would appeal to trend seekers for sure, because it's something that's exciting, something that's new, something that you've never seen before. So it would hopefully raise awareness on the product and attract more customers. Of course, we want to integrate that online. That's the whole point, especially since our target market is online a lot. So for whoever doesn't know or cannot attend to these live shows, it's important to film them, put them on YouTube, and Twitter is really important too, to try to get people to come, let's say 2 days in advance. Not too much in advance, something that comes up will be close to the Eden Center tomorrow, and then people can get excited about it. Social media has to be present also, and integrating all of that will allow the company to promote the product well to their target consumers of 18 and 19-year-olds. Pass it on to Fred for the next part of our recommendation.
One of the key ideas that we kept in mind when we saw our message of transporting yourself, transporting the product also to the consumers. So it is a question on how do you get the product to the consumers. It's mentioned in the information given that the product was launched last summer and got a great success. A lot of consumers are aware of the product, but there's a difference between awareness, consciousness, and actual willingness to purchase the product. So we thought a really innovative, creative, and fun opportunity for us would be to innovate with a transportable bar, which the main benefit would be to induce trial of the beverage. Bud Light Mojito is, without any doubt, a summery drink. Like we mentioned, with Mark and his girlfriend potentially going to the beach, going to a different festival. There's a lot of festivities going on in Montreal during the summer. So we would have the popular Bud Light squad with the Bud Light girls that would be on the transportable bar. It would be a setup, kind of a beach truck transportable bar where we would be selling the Bud Light Mojito, as well as having contests. We would put sound speakers, music to really create a whole new, different experience. So it would be a unique experience that would be provided to them out of their experience that they're currently living. For example, if they're at the beach or if they're at a festival, they can just take an hour, come enjoy a drink, maybe try it because it's the perfect time to try it out. Because the Bud Light, one of the key success of your companies, it's really, I think, the right people at the right time. And the key highlight employees, so we would send them there to promote that product so they can interact with the Bud Light employees as well as socializing with other people while having contests, partying on the truck as well. It's also scalable to private events. What about if you have a different event during the summer, you're organizing parties, bachelor parties with your friends, summer parties for work, you could potentially also contact Laval to have the truck come into your place in front of your house, the parking, to also enjoy maybe on a smaller scale. So it's really the benefit, again, it's really to induce the product trial. And often in festivals, for example, myself, from a personal experience, I don't like beer. The only one that I actually drink is the Bud Light wine. But often I go in festivals and the only beers that are offered are the really traditional ones. So really to get there with the truck would be surprising. For example, for girls, maybe Emily's, Mark's potential summer love would like to enjoy the Bud Light Mojito. So it's really to bring it to the consumer, unexpected surprise. And the fact that the Bud Light Mojito are not necessarily sold in those festivals, it would be good for the product trials. And then if they like it, we can still keep it in store in the openers as well as grocery stores. So it's really the benefit for Labatt is the ones I just mentioned, but for the consumer, it's just a totally fun, challenging, summery experience. I'm going to pass it on to Simon.
So with the in-store promos, it's very important because 80% of your revenue comes from off-site buying. So we really want to maintain this message all the way through and stick with the status quo that you saw so much success with, promoting it along with Bud Light line. So we want to maintain the status quo. Some of the signage will have to change because we want to bring in the parkour aspect, the new more urban aspect. So some of the signage will need to change. We may need to split Bud Light line, which is more focused towards the beach lifestyle, and the Bud Light line Mojito, which is the more urban lifestyle. But we believe selling them together, we think we'll see a lot of success, as you saw in previous years.
So I'll talk about the financial implications. First, right off the bat, we have to ask ourselves, what are the success metrics? How do we ensure that whatever campaign or whatever expense we're spending is actually going to yield interesting results on the consumers? What was interesting is there are surveys that are made by the company also to assess their brand awareness and to try to get a feel of what the consumers want and how they compare to other products such as the thé classique, for example, the iced tea. So it's going to be really important to analyze on a weekly basis with an integrated sales dashboard to try to see if the sales are matching the expectations. Are the sales up to the standard where they were last year? And then try to readjust as much as possible if that happens. We firmly believe that it should increase the sales because we would be taking the successful model of last year and adding on to it while still keeping our target consumers in mind. So we strongly believe that that will yield a very interesting result. Sorry, one arrow. So the way we broke it down to the financials, there's 8.3 million people in Quebec. The age group of 18 to 25 is about 1.8 million individuals. And if we take the current Canadian proportion of all the beer market that belongs to Bud Light and Mojito is 0.4%, we conservatively assume that we could increase that by 0.001. So it would become 0.5%, and that would yield a revenue of 4.4 million. That is over the expenses that I'm going to walk you through of 3.5. That was the budget allocated. And that is without factoring the other age groups that will be most likely purchasing the product. And that is also not factoring the fact that if the company is targeting new consumers and they get I still remember the first beer I drank. So if consumers get attached to the brand and start using and start consuming the product on a more regular basis, there is also a customer lifetime value that comes into play, which will yield benefits also for the company. So in terms of expense, there's a lot of numbers, but what it basically means is just in terms of the 3.5 million of the budget that is allocated, we simply allocated it to different items. Let you few seconds to digest what's on the slide right here. But I'll just walk you through what the items are. The Parcours promo team, the Bud Light squad that we're going to use to distribute the products to summer events. The TV ads, of course, are a big chunk, but that's normal. TV ads cost a lot of money for a 30-second ad. It gets really expensive. Event sponsorship. Why do we put 0? Is because we are going to use the current sponsorship budget that is allocated to Bud Light NIM and Bud Light as a whole, and we'll integrate the product in it so that we can have some cost savings on that part. And then the actual cost will come to the logistical aspects of going to the events and also paying for the TV ads, purchasing the trucks, managing the online presence of the new campaign. Of course, these are all costs that are factored in, the ad production. So these are pretty regular costs. The two main items are the TV ads and the event sponsorship. One being the biggest and the other one being factored in with the other promotions. So this would yield an ROI of 28%. It's a very simple number, the revenue divided by the actual budget that is allocated.
So in terms of the first things that your company would have to do, when can you start? As soon as next Monday. Obviously, the Bud Light Mojito is coming up just around the corner, like Simon mentioned before. So the first things to do: hire athletes, also to cover insurance for the parkour, shoot at the full media blitz, purchase of the truck, really getting the setup, how the settings of the trucks are going to be. Also, just to give you a benchmark, the idea that we pictured was, for example, Music Plus or Much Music. Often in the winter, they go to different ski mountains to create awareness, create contests, for different beers, and they post a schedule of where they're going to be so that people can attend and go and see them. It's kind of the same thing we truly believe Labatt would be really successful at doing with the summer events. So it's really putting out the schedule so that people can follow you on Twitter, Facebook. The whole social media, again, that is really a big thing today, we have to admit. So it's really making sure that people are aware where you're going to go. Also, the people that are unaware, it's still a really fun experience, and it's just going to bring the surprising factor. So really, how to get it rolling, to promote the transportable bar, I just mentioned it. Oshaga, Jazz Fest, the Quebec Festival, the Just for Laughs, all in July, Oka Beach. Also, to reach your target market of younger adults, 18, 19, maybe go to CJEP, different orientation week to really target those, maybe universities as well that would be interested. That's another opportunity for your company. Also, always reassessing the success of not only the transportable bar, but also the ads with the whole new parkour initiative, and while checking the growth and the market share of Labatt or the Bud Light Mojito brand.
So just bringing you back to our opportunity to paint a picture of what we're proposing today. By implementing a resonating stunt campaign, imagine you have a bunch of thousands of Marks and Emilys at Oshaga. You see a guy way off in the distance climbing up one of the top tier stages. He gets up there, banner all the way across Bud Light Lime Mojito. People can take out their phones, they share it, all of a sudden you're getting traction online. You film that with a good camera crew, you put that across television ads, and all of a sudden you're putting out an experience that reaches your market and reaches your Emily. And this is going to gain traction with people who are very easily distracted. They're high energy. But if you get them in this moment for them, they're going to grow out of that. And what's going to be left is a customer who has a deeper experience with Bud Light and is going to be a loyal customer for years to come. Thanks very much for your time.
sort of 300,000 for the store promotion. Can you develop a bit on what you're taking in for the store promotion?
In-store promotion would be the signage. We saw a few pictures were provided to us. We saw the different signposts that were put, because you can't simply stack up the cases of beer. You also want to promote, let's say, the parkour campaign. You want to I don't know, we would want to shoot highlights of that, or like have a picture with a parkour team. You basically want to integrate the marketing campaign into something other than just piling the cases. So you want to, and we just factor that in because there's small printing costs, but there are a lot of convenience stores and a lot of different outlets throughout Quebec. So that's why the amount is 300. Yeah.
If I understood correctly, there seems to be two main platforms to your marketing campaign. One would be the parkour, and the other would be the transportable bar each year. These are sort of polar opposites. How would you guys make them into one cohesive idea?
Well, the idea is, with parkour, we're creating an exciting experience that drives home the message you're being transported away from the day-to-day. This is your adventure in your day-to-day. What the truck does is it actually brings that transportation concept to them. It allows them to try it. Because in this is also, while people are aware of the beverage, they haven't necessarily tried the beverage. So you want to get them to sample it so that they actually are convinced this is really taking me out of my day-to-day. And the truck brings what you see happening with the parkour athletes to the consumer themselves. So we actually see these campaigns really coming together on that main message.
You link it to physical effort, but so what is the rationale behind this? How the consumer will think about parkour and all that stuff while drinking a Bud Light Lemonade?
The rationale would be to find something that is appealing to the target market specifically. What's difficult is you always have to innovate. A lot of ads have been done in the past, and it's difficult to find something that is new, that is appealing, and that will actually create a hype. Why would people talk about a certain ad unless it's something that is cool, something that they can actually share? And parkour videos are shared very often because there's something that's really cool. And it would be great to have the name of the company and a product associated with videos that are shared online. And parkour appeals to the customers and can also be integrated in the whole marketing strategy. So we see that as a value added for Bud Light.
And just to add on that, the main product here is the Bud Light Mojito. Guys, let's be honest, they drink beer, maybe they're gonna think it's not manly enough. So bringing the physical component to that might not necessarily target men specifically, but once they end up in that cool hot cities with girls around, maybe they're going to be also the one purchasing the product for the girls. And then the transportable bar, on the other hand, is more of a girly experience, beach, relaxing, getting the challenge, not the physical challenge out of that. So it's really, it was the purpose of both transportation, but also different, the manly and the female, because again, Mark was a man, the typical customer that was provided to us. So it's two different perspectives we wanted to be.
You talked about some main concerns in your analysis. How do you think that your plan addresses them?
So again, our main concern was how do we grow without cannibalizing. What we wanted to do is promote a drink that actually could be perceived not just as something you drink at the bar or you drink at home, but drink when you're out, where we saw the flavored beverages like Smirnoff Ice, or your actually microbrews, the flavored beers, or for instance, the sangria. So we wanted to broaden the perspective of what beer can provide, an experience with all the types of experiences that are tied to sangria, microbrews, as well as Smirnoff Ice. And so we believe that by pursuing that message, that this is your drink for all of these types of experiences, you can grow without cannibalizing. And we really think we achieved that.
In your implementation piece, you spoke about brand awareness and trial in CJEPs. Us being a beer company, we have to be very, first of all, we're very high on responsible drinking. One element of the component is encourage drinking. How do you feel as a beer company you'd be able to get into CJEPs without playing borderline on those laws?
For example, being also from a student from Montreal, at Jonava, for example, the age, because the case was mainly targeted towards Quebec, the age drinking is 18. So for example, whenever there's the Spring Fest or the Summer Fest,
Sorry guys,
or
it's over.
occasion,
The 5-minute QA is over.